But the fact is that there have been threats to KKR. There have been
Yeah.
everybody from
Sure.
ulemas to sort of Hindutva groups saying, drop this man. So I think, Ambassador Sikri, I'll let you complete your point, then come to Suhasini. What you're suggesting is it could have been a practical decision as opposed to a signaling to Bangladesh. However, because nobody has spoken officially about this, we actually don't know what's happened.
No. What I'm saying is that I'm not talking of just pure law and order, and I'm sure that the police would have been able to maintain law and order by, sort of pushing back even 5,000 people. No, I'm talking about also taking on board and respecting the feelings of horror that have pervaded all of India. In fact, people are saying, why aren't we being more vocal on this? And when you talk about Jamaat-e-Islami, let me tell you that it is Jamaat-e-Islami which is controlling the situation today in Bangladesh. They are the force in power. And as a matter of fact, what has happened is that Jamaat-e-Islami would have or has been expecting that because they are the force behind the throne and because they have been able to put their own people as deputy commissioner, judiciary, academia, bureaucracy, almost everywhere, they would have thought that there would be a great surge in their popularity and that automatically they would be the shoo-in for the election. But actually that has not happened even in Bangladesh. The Bangladesh people are very religious, but they don't want a caliphate. They don't want Sharia law.
Let me bring in Suhasini. I think what Ambassador Sikri is saying is that we are in some ways underestimating the horror that is felt by ordinary Indians. A similar horror was felt when India played Pakistan after Pahalgam and Op Sindoor. And at that time, the government's reasoning was, it's not in our hands because it's a multilateral tournament. And the government may well argue the IPL is in our hands. It is in the hands of the BCCI. How would you react to that?
I don't understand that, and I will qualify that by saying, I don't follow cricket. I don't understand how all of that works. I'm making that simple point, which is, what is your policy now? What is the basic thing you are trying to say? Ambassador Sikri, I'm sorry, I don't understand the idea that the Bangladesh government is being held responsible by Mr. Jaishankar personally going to Dhaka, not meeting with Professor Yunus, although I do have a picture of him meeting with the foreign affairs advisor right here. I'm basically asking a question where I think it was completely correct. The external affairs minister went to Dhaka for I think a 3-hour visit to attend a funeral. He did not go there for a political visit. He would not have gone there for a bilateral visit otherwise, or he would have made that trip at a separate point. So I don't see why we are trying to find some way of suggesting that the Indian government is upset, but it's not upset enough to do this, but it is upset enough to allow the BCCI to let go a Bangladeshi cricket player because there is public support. I don't understand what that policy is. And if you are holding the government of Bangladesh responsible squarely for those lynchings, and I think one should hold governments responsible when there is a breakdown of law and order of the kind that we have seen in Bangladesh, then firstly, one must have the humility to accept that even in India, when somebody gets lynched to death for his religion or for his looks or for where he comes from, then that government must be held responsible here as well. My point is very simple. Which is that if you want to mix cricket with this, then explain to me what the line is. Is the line that we will not play with Bangladesh now? Bangladeshi players are not welcome. Is the line we think that there may be a law and order issue and we cannot control the law and order issue, so therefore Bangladeshi players should not be there? Make that point. Third, is your line going to be that every country where minorities are treated badly or where minorities are lynched barbarically or where you have human rights violations, are we going to then sever sporting ties with them? Is that something that we are trying to say? Does India when it's told
No.
that visas have to be banned for people because of the treatment of minorities inside India? My question is, have a principle, then stick to that principle and explain it to me across the board. It cannot be. Today, I feel like this is the case. As I said, you have everyone saying, Barkha, that we will play cricket with Pakistan after what happened in Pahalgam because we have to, but we will not shake hands with them. But then the external affairs minister goes to Dhaka, he meets with the Pakistani leader over there, and he shakes hands with him. So what is the line of here? Is the line really, Barkha, that the government of the day can do whatever it wants? But the people, whether it's the sportsmen, whether it's the musicians, whether it's ordinary people, must not mix with each other. And the government has a special place and therefore is allowed to do whatever they want. I want to know what the line
I think
is.
I think it's an important question. Unfortunately, I have to take last comments, so I'll come to Padma and I'll give you Ambassador Sikri the closing word. Padma, I think what Suhasini is asking is the following: are the people to be held to a higher standard of sort of, reflecting popular sentiment, patriotism, national interest than the government? Or the converse argument would be the government of the day, by definition, will have to adjust, adapt, change, be cold, be warm as the situation demands. The problem right now is the situation hasn't changed. And in the same situation, you are seeing two different kinds of behavior according to Suhasini. What do you say to that?
No, I completely agree with Suhasini, but I understand it and I sort of absorb it differently, and it may be hypocritical, and I think it is a bit hypocritical. I think governments, all governments perhaps, but our government certainly seems to have one set of standards for external, or one set of moves for external consumption and one set of moves for domestic consumption. I just also wanted to add something to what Suhasini, she said she didn't know cricket, didn't watch cricket very well. A lot. I watch cricket a lot. And I can certainly say that, it wasn't as if India was powerless about pulling out, Barkha, as you earlier said, pulling out of that tournament after Operation Sindoor. India rules the roost in the world of cricket. It rules the roost in the BCCIs, the ICC, the BCCI, where we are right on top and we're the most influential cricketing body in the world. So if we wanted to pull out of that tournament, we certainly could have. I'm not saying we should have, because I'm also a cricket buff and I enjoyed watching the match and I enjoyed India creaming Pakistan. But what I'm saying is that there are double standards, if you'd like to call them double standards. But I think that while we're making a lot of very reasonable and sensible moves on the bilateral front to Bangladesh, we're also playing parallel games and other games just for optical consumption and just for domestic consumption. Now, I don't think that the two should necessarily always match. I don't think they do in any country. But there you are. There you have it. That's what's happening. But as far as law and order is concerned, I maintain that point, which was on your debate as well. And I think Suhasini also agrees that all those events and incidents that happened in India, where were the police? Where was law and order? Where was it?
We have a whole program that we've just done on this, so I urge you all to watch it. We've gone very in depth into these issues. Before Ambassador Sikri closes, I see Suhasini has a brief interjection. Suhasini, yeah.
Only because what I cover is diplomacy. I also want to make the point that today we have all put all eggs in the basket and said External Affairs Minister went to Khalida Zia's funeral, met with Tariq Rahman, spoke to the BNP. There's these letters going across. Prime Minister Modi speaking about the importance of the BNP leader and all the rest of that. I think we should remember that just 7 years ago, India deported the BNP's lawyers, turned them around at the airport because we didn't want to have anything to do with the BNP. Our diplomats stopped talking to the BNP leadership. I'm just asking for some amount of consistency that is in consonance with India's stature. If we are going to become a kind of street bully who just decides on the day, I'm unhappy about this, I'm going to deal with this in this way, we lose our own stature and we lose our own consistency.
Okay, Ambassador Sikri, I'm going to give you the closing word, but I think it's also important to say we don't actually know if the BCCI has received instruction from government. I just want to, I find this whole cricket story unclear at this point. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but it's unclear. It's unclear. Has the BCCI decided this on their own? Have they decided this might be what the government wants? Is the government on board with this? We don't know enough right now. So, yeah.
But I am not going to talk about cricket at all, because I agree with you that I'm not going to go into the niceties of whether somebody has told BCS or not. Please, I'm not going to go into that. But I do take strong objection to the way Suhasini is trying to portray, Indian government policy. I do not think that generalizations are the strength of anybody's foreign policy. Foreign policy is not based on generalizations. foreign policy is based on the expression of national interest at a certain point in time, given a certain set of circumstances. So to point to a photograph of with Tawhid Hussain and say, look, he met him. I mean, at the airport, Tawhid Hussain would have been there and he would have sort of maybe, said something to him. Tawhid Hussain is himself saying that there was no one-to-one meeting. And secondly, generalization number two. Imagine saying the Indian government is responsible for any lynching held in India. I mean, we know that Bangladesh has a unitary form of government. We know India has a federal form of government. There are state governments which have the full responsibility for law and order. Whenever any lynching, any unfortunate incident concerning minorities takes place in India, then immediately judicial action is taken, and there's an immediate report. It's not as if it goes under any, huge carpet or anything like that. More than anything, I mean, the media follows it extensively, quite correctly so, and the government is held to the government of the day, whether it's the state, how a central government and the prime minister himself can be held responsible for any event happening in any small part of India at any one time is beyond anybody's imagination.
Okay.
So I don't think that can be a generalization that can
That's
be
not what we're saying.
held, that any government can be held to. It's a good generalization to
Which is
try and
saying the government
No,
takes
we're not talking about.
to say
That's
that
not what we're saying.
that I have a foreign policy that will have one general kind of approach, very neatly wrapped up, and saying, okay, here it is, every day it is going to be. Foreign policy is conducted according to the need of the time. From the first day, our government said that we always deal with the government of the
I
day.
think
So
the
in
question, ma'am, let me be specific and not general. The question is about inconsistency. Now, I completely agree. I should say this. I completely agree that diplomacy has to adapt itself to a certain set of circumstances. When the circumstances change, diplomacy will change. There's no question of consistency over the years. No question. And
even
that's
over
clear.
weeks, even
But
over weeks,
even in a week, things can change. Agreed. Now, in these circumstances, right now, here and now, I think the question both of them are asking is our messaging consistent? That's the question.
there are two sets of questions. One is about the cricket. One is about
Yeah.
Mustafizur Rahman. You yourself said that maybe
I don't know. I have no idea.
I also don't know.
Yeah.
I also don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about cricket at all. But I'm talking about the general question of how to deal with the Bangladesh, what is happening there. And, to compare that, okay, 7 years ago we said this about BNP. I was there when BNP government was in power. I know we kept in touch with all of them. And we've always kept in touch with every political party in every country, because it's not a question of just we wanting one part of the day. And if everybody is talking about, putting Sheikh Hasina in, all the eggs in her basket, that was a very specific aspect, because she respected India's security red lines. I know that when Khaleda Zia was Prime Minister and the BNP, the security red lines about the Northeast Indian insurgent groups were completely ignored. And when Sheikh Hasina came and they were accepted, then we had 15 years of peace and development in Northeast India, because the insurgent groups were not being supported anymore. And for 15 years, Northeast India even forgot what insurgent groups were like. And now, of course, Paresh Barua is back in Dhaka, etc., and all of that is there. So, these things have to be taken on board as they develop. We said on the first day in last August, I think it was August, that, we will deal with the government of the day, because with a 4,000-kilometer border and a trade which is very huge, there are day-to-day aspects that have to be dealt with. You cannot ignore them. Security at the border, people crossing over illegally, all of that. But in terms of substantive decisions, we said we will wait for the elections. And now we've said we'd like the elections to be free, fair, and inclusive. So that is a very consistent policy. But at all the same time, we have completely, expressed our horror at the killings going on in Bangladesh. And there is no control.
So I was going to close, but both Padma and Suhasini want to respond, so we'll do another round of comments. Suhasini, to you first. I have a question actually to Suhasini. What you cite of the BNP, I think Ambassador Sikri is a fair question there. Between the two entities, Hasina may have been seen as somebody who was more aligned to India's interests, but today you deal with the hand you're dealt. Today, Bangladesh is dealing you the BNP card. You're not going to not pick it up from the table and play your own hand. So Ambassador Sikri is asking, is it fair of you to quote that from X number of years ago? So I just want your response to that. Yeah.
I'm in fact agreeing with Ambassador Sikri when she was in Dhaka. She dealt with every part of the polity. So I was just making the point that it doesn't help India to cut out one part of the polity of another country and only deal with one part. Just as when we didn't deal with the BNP for 7 years, we did face a kind of backlash even from them last year during the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. But I think the larger question is, and I think we're all agreeing over there, that what is India's national interest has to be at the fore. This cannot be
Absolutely.
about making decisions on the fly without realizing what is the larger interest of India, how India is perceived in our neighborhood. And we do have a larger than life perception there. And when we are consistently seen as trying to punish a country in the neighborhood, while being kind of quiet about what our own.
You can have 2,900 incidents against minorities and you're calling it punish? I mean, I don't understand what's going on.
It's not about minorities. The minorities are being treated badly. There's no question about that. I don't understand.
May I please?
Okay, you're all speaking together. I let Suhasini complete her sentence, then Padma, and then
that if we have decided that we are going to behave in a certain way, then have the consistency to go ahead. Nobody is doubting that it is wrong to treat minorities in this particular manner, to have these lynchings and nobody being held to account in this particular manner. I'm just saying that we will have to show the power of our example over here.